Right, what a wonderful event we've had over the last 2 days. Such thoughtful and inspiring words, and words that are not just touching on the present, but also on the past, and the past touches on our present and it forges our future. I just want to say thank you very much to a number of my Women in Blockchain Talks members who were here yesterday and today. Okay, so without further ado, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us here today. It's a privilege to be hosting this panel discussion as today's broader theme of women of the world for the empowerment of women in politics, economy, and diplomacy. Particularly at a moment when technology, law, and economic participation are converging in ways that will shape opportunity for decades to come, our future. The digital economy is no longer emerging, it is here. And the question we must now ask is not whether women will participate, but on what terms. Globally, women are starting businesses at record rates. In many regions, women-led enterprises are among the fastest growing segments of the economy. Yet despite this momentum, women continue to face persistent structural barriers, which we've heard. A number of our eminent speakers have touched upon this, including reduced access to capital, networks, and protection. At the same time, we are witnessing the rapid expansion of Web3, blockchain, and digital assets as a new economic layer, one that is redefining ownership, value creation, and the future of work. Digital assets are moving from niche to mainstream. They are underpinning new business models, new forms of labor, and new routes to entrepreneurship. But as we all know, growth alone does not guarantee equity. But as we have heard over the past 2 days, women remain underrepresented across both traditional and emerging economies in funding, technical infrastructure, decision-making power, and risk mitigation frameworks. And this brings us to the central issue of this discussion. Earlier this month, the UK formally recognised digital assets as personal property in England and Wales. Raise your hand if you were aware of this. Okay, just a few hands. Okay. This is a landmark development, not because it is technical, but because property rights are foundational to economic participation. It is also a moment I'm personally proud of. My case, Osbourne versus Persons Unknown, helped establish early judicial recognition that digital assets, including NFTs, could be treated as property and protected by the courts, contributing to the legal momentum that led to this statutory clarity. As the founder of Women in Blockchain Talks, I've worked to ensure this progress extends beyond the courtroom, translating into education, awareness, and opportunity for those building in the digital economy. Because ownership determines who can build, who can protect what they create, who can scale, and who can recover when things go wrong. For women building businesses in the digital economy, legal recognition and protection are not nice to have, they are prerequisites. This shift makes clear that digital assets are no longer experimental, they are economic infrastructures. So without further ado, let me introduce my esteemed panelists. So we'll start. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to announce. Oh, thank you. Ania, I am pronouncing your name right, Ania. And you, Ania works in digital asset insurance and risk, so protection. And she works for the company Nexus Mutual. And I'll let Ania just discuss what they do. And then we have Angelica Ortega, who is a go-to-market for and commercialization in Web3, so market access. So she is the founder of Novify. And then we have Deborah Cleary, who is focusing on skills, access, and building confidence, so upskilling, and she is the co-founder of No Code Labs. So, Ania, would you like to just tell a little bit more about what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you for this introduction. As Lavinia already mentioned, my name is Ania Spzak. I'm the Chief Legal Officer at Nexus Mutual. Nexus Mutual is a platform built on a blockchain. And just to clarify, it is not an insurance company, but it is an insurance alternative. So it is what is known as discretionary mutual. It's a very English concept, however, not very well known to people, not just in England, but around the world. But we have examples of MDU, the Medical Defence Union, or Medical Defence and Dental Union of Scotland that utilise a very similar concept, and basically this is a discretionary type of an insurance. And Nexus Mutual has been built entirely on the blockchain, and we offer solutions and protections to players within the space, but we're also expanding outside of the blockchain.
Thank you, Lavinia, for the introduction. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for making it so far. I'm Angelica Ortega. I'm the founder of Novify. We are a go-to-market talent layer for Web3, digital assets, and security. I'm a psychologist myself, but 12 years ago when I came to London, I joined Fortune 500 companies like Microsoft, Visa, Meta, building talent and operations globally, and really focusing at Novify to build VC-backed startups and scale-ups and high-frequency trading funds in digital assets across the world.
Hello, my name is Deborah Cleary. I'm the founder of NoCodeLab.ai. We're an AI training and co-build company that empowers non-technical founders to build technology solutions, democratizing access to new skills for many, many, many people. I know Lavinia through my work at the British Blockchain Association, and my co-founder has a Web3 business, so we very much au fait with the Web3 world. We predominantly work in the Web 2, Web 2.5, but I have a deep domain knowledge of blockchain from a non-technical perspective, so I think that gives me a unique view on things.
Perfect. Thank you. So I'm going to start with you, Deborah, because I do know that you have to rush off. Right. So with skills and confidence are often bigger barriers than technology itself. How does accessible training, including approaches like vibe coding, and if you can explain to the audience what vibe coding is, changes who gets to participate in the digital economy? And I think it's very important to say when we talk about participate, it's participate, building, growing, etc.
I'm going to just firstly think back to what we heard today about the paralysis that fear and trepidation can bring. And if we're talking about opening up economies, we have to create a sense of happiness and excitement around innovation. And by creating happiness and innovation together, we unlock huge talent pools and potential economic upsides. If we think about the sustainability goals, we have to make knowledge accessible. We have to make this knowledge also contribute to social good. And I think by using AI technologies to develop, to innovate, to learn, we create an incredible opportunity for social mobility, for female entrepreneurs, for basically anybody, for students that kind of aren't STEM students, who are clever, logical people, but aren't necessarily mathematicians or, sciencey people. Those days are over, but what we have to do is offer these people access to a systematic and quality layer of training so that AI can be used in a responsible way, and that people can not just play with it, but they can use it to progress their lives. And I think, without sounding too lofty, the practical implications of that are that every single student, every single person that goes to the job centre, every single person that comes out of the army as a veteran should be offered the opportunity to have this as part of their training and upskilling. And we would see enormous benefits from that.
Mm. And if you can explain what vibe coding is.
So basically, it's using AI to develop products, systems, services using English language. So you no longer have to be able to be a coding professional. So 99.9% of the world does not know how to code, and yet a lot of the developed nations of the world know exactly what AI is. They use ChatGPT on a regular basis, but they do not understand that with a little bit of knowledge, with a little bit of training, you can convert that, can I have a holiday itinerary, into how to set up a new business. And we were honoured to have Lavinia on one of our programs as a kind of very technical but kind of no-code professional. And I also went through the program as a non-technical person. I said, if I can do this, then I'm proof positive that this is a good thing. And I think it has changed my world in relation to being able to contribute more, develop more, and think beyond my current capabilities. So yeah, I believe that coding for non-technical founders is a phenomenal next step.
And I would say as well, I'd like to add to that, we've talked about digital assets, we've talked about, of course, just AI and blockchain, but what vibe coding really does, it helps to make the theoretical into practical, and it empowers people to think outside of the box and be builders in this digital economy rather than just consumers. And I think that's very important, particularly for women. Okay. As I touched upon before, the UK has now formally recognised digital assets as property for women entering or building in the digital economy. And this is a foundational shift and not just a legal technicality. So with that being said, Ania, from your perspective, how does recognising digital assets as property change the way women should think about risk, ownership and protection when building or holding digital assets?
And that's a great question. I think historically, women have been and are perceived as risk averse. And introduction of not just this law, but just law and regulation in general around this space gives women reassurance. With this particular piece of legislation, it is clear that there are now stronger protections against theft and misuse. The Act confirms that the digital assets are recognized as property. But I would take that a step further and say that actually enables anyone who holds digital assets to use that potentially as collateral. So recognizing that the digital assets are property allows them to be used as a security. And that then means that the lenders might be more likely to accept digital assets as collateral. So I think people in general, women that maybe are a little bit more mindful of the use of digital assets will hopefully be reassured by that. And one final point that I would add to that is that this legislation also, and I'm saying that from the perspective of being a lawyer, will save everyone massive costs, because we no longer have to be asking the question of whether digital asset can qualify as a property. This now answers that question, which means that if there are any issues, this is one less issue that needs to be figured out. So the legal costs that would come with any misappropriation or any problem, as you know, the legal costs are enormous in general, but this will definitely avoid at least some of those costs. So I think in general, that encourages the innovation and makes England even more friendly, especially for women entrepreneurs.
And the important thing about England laws is that generally, once it has been set, other countries look at, what we do,
Absolutely.
and then they follow, they will look at it. There's a term that's used for the English laws, and then when it's taken around the world, it's just escaped me. Do you know? Okay, no worries. But generally speaking, when we make laws here, other countries look at it and then generally use it as an example.
It's perceived as one of the most reliable ones around the globe. Yes.
Exactly. Now, and I think you touched on something that was quite important when you talked about collateral, and one of the key things that women have always held dear, and just anyone, but particularly women, because it's a power that has been taken away from us, and money and wealth is power. But when you have an asset that has collateral, that means you have something that can create wealth. It can generate wealth in one form or another. Obviously, it depends on the value and also the audience who is interested in what you have, but it can be deemed and can be seen as a wealth generation or wealth generating tool. I have another question for you, Ania, and that is, would you say insurance is particularly important for women founders and professionals, especially those entering Web3 for the first time? And if yes, why?
So I have been, I suppose, privileged enough to have firsthand witnessed the transformation that not just insurance but blockchain underwent over the past 3 to 4 years. And I think if we sat at this stage 3 or 4 years ago, any Web3, any insurance, or mainly Web3 companies would be focusing on the technology aspect. It would be how to protect your code, the audits, how to protect your wallet, safes, MPC solutions. And I can see that from Nexus Mutual perspective, that this dynamic is definitely shifting. We are no longer just looking at the technological solutions, but we're looking at how to widen the scope of how to secure projects, the new businesses. And this is not just for women, but I suppose for the ecosystem and more in general. And we're seeing now that this is not just retail investors, but institutional investors, regulated and licensed entities, with the introduction of legislations around the globe and more local to us, like MiCA, for instance. We're seeing that there is more and more desire to have insurance or insurance alternative solutions in place. And personally, I believe that by embedding those solutions into the operational DNA, the entities, the companies, the projects, actually showing the world that we are serious. We are to be taken seriously. We are here for the long game. Funnily enough, Dr. Lisa Cameron has mentioned earlier rug pull. I would be quite curious, just for my own personal interest, how many of you are familiar with the term rug pull? 2 people. I love that, and I think that also shows, especially in the insurance. Sorry, if I have another minute to just follow on that. But what we've seen historically is that the traditional insurance companies were trying to adjust to crypto, and what has to happen now? It has to be the blockchain that offers those solutions. Blockchain, because it's blockchain that understands what is a rug pull, what is a DPEG, what is a Oracle manipulation. And I think if we have tools like that, that will reassure women founders to actually be able to start those projects, because this is just one added tool, in your armory of security solutions that you can use. And, if something goes wrong, you have that security in your back pocket. And also it's the optics. You can show to your clients, you can show to your participants. This is not just, it's not just audit that I can show you, but look, there is a policy or there is a cover wording that, if something goes wrong, if I decide to run away with your money, things are in place that will help.
Yeah. So. That's a really great point, which takes me directly to you, Angelica. As digital assets gain legal recognition, Where are you seeing the biggest opportunities for women building Web3 native businesses?
Yes, absolutely. And I'd like to first cover the underestimated risks, because I was thinking about that and I was also talking with you, Ania, about it. We don't realize how early on we are in this industry and how much leverage we will have as women that have been, still are, and remain in it. Because sometimes we feel like we 5, 6 women in the room. In this room, I'm very happy because we are more of us. But 4 or 5 years ago, you know, I was amidst of male-dominated and, you know, rooms, which can be a little bit intimidating, I'm not going to lie, and also with my age. So it was quite interesting to, you know, persist and keep showing up. And I really want to encourage many women to do the same, because the numbers are still quite tough. Only 13% of women are actually leading businesses and are one in a founding Web3 founding teams. This is quite outrageous, I must add, but these numbers aren't discouraging. It's not shrinking. We are evolving. So I just wanted to note that. But biggest opportunities, we have a lot of opportunities, and I wanted to say we don't need to build the next protocol. We've been building infrastructure for the last 10 years. What we really need to do is, as women, which we are very good at, it's explaining and making understandable to users what Web3 is, like how the fundamentals work. If we explain that, not just to women, to any gender, that will really expand the knowledge, because what is lacking is trust, is the security, and we are building the next secure and ethical digital future. And we might be quite knowledgeable in this room, but when I speak to my friends or outside of this industry, when I was at Microsoft or, you know, at Visa, I'm talking 10 years ago, I had no clue about what digital economy might be. But if someone around my age or like older, doesn't matter age in this topic, explained to me, I might have been interested and I might have been wanting to join. So the big opportunity to answer your question is really evangelize and really join foundations, platforms like Women in Blockchain Talks, SheFi. There's so many around the world that really foster that leadership, that knowledge, because education is so key.
And I'd also say that, you know, when you're going to market, what a lot of people lack is that audience, or is that that community to help propel their business. Like, who am I going to sell to? Who am I going to do the research with? And I think it's very important that when women are joining different networks, that they are very intentional about it, and also that the founders of those networks are intentional about helping the founders, in the sense of sometimes you will find people that are quite protective over their group, whereas, you know, if we are going to help each other and push the agenda forward of women founders leading or just being equal in the space, then we need to help each other by sharing our resources and joining other communities that are like-minded, and that will help founders and individuals to be able to say, okay, this is what I'm building. I need help in regards to market research. I need help to audiences. Can I leverage your group? Can I be a part of your group? And it's a win-win situation, because if we have more women leaders out there who are doing well, making money, creating wealth, then hopefully that can come back into the infrastructure to help, you know, help more women founders and more women leaders. So with that being said, Angelica, what commercial or go-to-market mistakes do you see women founders making, and how can they avoid them early?
Sure. And I think this is not just women. I think this is a little bit everybody, because I work with, dozens of founders around the world every day, and we keep being so focused on technology, and from what we've been discussing about the no coding, it's not as about the technology, it's about the use case. How we actually going to use all this new technology that is so amazing, so secure, and all these pros that we can have another panel about, how can we actually use it? So for me, this is the challenge that I'm seeing when I'm looking at pitches from founders and explaining to me all this amazing tech that they've been building, which is, amazing. But what is it for? What problem is solving, right? Start with that first, and then we can delve into the technology, which is, again, amazing. I don't want to disregard and take any credit off of it. So I believe that, we need more women focusing in selling and explaining and going around evangelizing across all channels like this today, what actually we're building it and what for, and how can I go on my phone and check, how can I build my wealth? How can I make it more secure? How can I use Kraken and not get scammed? Like, all of these questions that I had to answer myself or asking a lot of people, I think these are the challenges that, and mistakes, if you like, that we are making as founders, not being able to be quite transparent, and blockchain is about transparency.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So a rapid fire question to all speakers. Now that digital assets are legally recognized as property, what should women prioritize in the next 12 to 24 months if they want to build sustainably in this space? Deborah?
If it's a rapid question, it's hard to come up with one single answer. I think, like you said, see what the market challenge is, see what the opportunity is, and now use all the tools available to you with the research required to try and hone in on solving a specific challenge. Using Web3 as a foundational layer, you can create true validated solutions, and there's any number of organizations and partner entities out there that can support you to do that.
Shall I go next? I think now is the moment to not just hire and add talent that comes from crypto. Crypto native talent is all we hired for. Now is the moment for Web2 women and men to join and leverage what we've been building. So all this organized, structured landscape will be benefited. And it's, I think, what we need to be really focusing on, not just solely who has been in the last 10 years as originals, which is very important as well, but merge with non-crypto native as well. We can teach that, we can learn that.
And I would say definitely participate in setting standards and policies and be present in all of the rooms, just be brave, even if it is intimidating room full of men, just be brave and also encourage one another. I can't overemphasize how important it is for women to encourage and fill other women with confidence, because we can do it.
That's wonderful, thank you. So just to round this off, I just want to touch on some of the key points that we've just heard here. And what comes to mind is that skills and confidence unlock participation, but only if women can translate them into commercial opportunity. We've heard that building sustainably in the digital economy requires thinking holistically. So you need to understand the risks, you need to protect your assets, and you need to develop capability and designing viable routes to market, something, of course, Women in Blockchain Talks is working on. So watch this space. What this tells us also is that the digital economy doesn't reward isolated effort. it rewards ecosystem. And this is one of the key words that I've heard over the last 2 days, that we are an ecosystem. And this is what this conversation, this is what this event is about, being an ecosystem to each other. So without further ado, I just want to say thank you once again to Tasmina and Baroness Udden for this opportunity to speak, and thank you everyone for listening.